Well, all right, kiddos, it's time to sharpen up those edges and grease up your chains. We are going to live it up with mountain life. Dropping in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
How's it going, Mountain Lifers? My name's Colin Field. Welcome to Live It Up with Mountain Life. I'm sitting here in the relatively east side of the country near Collingwood, Ontario, tag teaming on the ML podcast with our Western MC, Feet Banks. I'll be tagging in here and there, trying to get Feet some time to ski some powder, make some horror movies, or hang out with his kid. For my first guest, I've got photographer and adventurer Kari Medig. But first, let's talk about our partners at Jack Wolfskin. For almost 40 years, the Jack Wolfskin name and paw print have been a symbol of their trailblazing spirit and regard for nature. Since 1981, they have led the pack with innovative, eco-conscious technologies, a commitment to social responsibility, and forward-thinking designs. If you haven't seen the Jack Wolfskin paw print before, it's because they have only just completed their newest den here in North America. Jack Wolfskin will see you in the wild, wherever that is for you. Okay, so Kari Medig. As a former photo editor for Mountain Life magazine, I often think of Medig as a ski photographer, but that's a bit misleading. Because ski photography suggests epic pow turns, cliff hucks, and resort skiing. That's not really what Medig does. He's got those skills, of course, but his true art comes when he goes deeper than that. When he captures the soul of skiing, often in the least likely of places. India, Israel, and the UK have produced some of his most memorable images. He captures portraits of jean-clad skiers on the slopes of Africa that somehow get you more stoked to go skiing than an epic face shot image from Japan. Of course, skiing isn't the only thing he shoots. He shoots mountain biking, cycling, travel, and just about anything else that interests him. And he shoots them all with his unique eye. He captures the grime, the grit, and the true humanity of his subjects. His clients include the who's who of print media, from National Geographic and Outside to Powder, Rest in Peace, En Route, and of course, Mountain Life. He's traveled to just about every country worth skiing in, and a whole bunch that aren't worth skiing in. And if there's an obscure ski hill in a town you've never heard of, chances are Medig's already skied it or is heading there soon. Above and beyond all that, Medig's an adventurer. From crossing Baffin Island on a fat bike during winter to ski traverses on Canadian Tire equipment, Medig is a true machine in the mountains. Coming to us from his home in Nelson, BC, without further ado, here's my chat with Kari Medig. And welcome to Mountain Life Live It Up podcast, Kari Medig. How's it going?
Hello. Hi, Colin. How are you?
Good, you?
Good. Yeah, things are good. Went for a little ski this morning, and yeah, it's a sunny spring day here. Not quite spring, but sunny day and powder out there. It's nice. Yeah.
Oh man, there's no powder here, but that's pretty normal for this winter. So, I mean, I often think of you as a ski photographer. That might be a bit insulting and a bit limiting. How did you get into photography? Did you start with skiing or?
Oh, yeah, it's a good question. I've always been really inspired by all types of photography, really. I started off actually, I guess professionally, I actually started off in newspapers for quite a few years in the Vancouver area. I actually did a biochemistry degree when I first started university, and then I was like, oh, I can't work in a lab. I grew up in, kind of my formative years in Fernie, BC, and the East Kootenays, and skiing has always been a huge part of my life. So I started getting interested in photography through my parents, and then after the biochem thing, I went into photo school, and I got an internship at a newspaper, and just it really taught me how to kind of move quickly and shoot quickly. Sometimes we're doing like 8 or 9 assignments a day. I was just running around. Wow. And I always had like, the Nat Geos and the Life magazines around, because my parents were amateur photographers. Like my dad was, as I grew up, we always had these like 2 like Nikon FEs in the house, one for my mom, one for my dad. And we go out, and my dad was more interested in people and like nature stuff, and my mom was really into like fungi. Like really into mushrooms and details of mushrooms, which is, she had this kind of little, she got really excited about photographing that. And we'd have a dark room often set up, like not a permanent one, but we'd set it up every now and again in our house. And
Yeah.
yeah, that was sort of, yeah, we lived like, I was actually born in Ontario and then moved in northern BC when I was super young, and then kind of grade 6 or something like that to Fernie, where I got into skiing. And then yeah, so once I got that the newspaper work through like an internship, I it's just a way to kind of polish my craft a bit, just sort of like get fast and good and be able to tell stories. So back to your question, throughout this time I'd always been skiing, doing more expeditions, and I slowly started transitioning into shooting it more, and sort of like moved away from the ski world and or the newspaper world and more into the skiing world, just by virtue of like, you always hear about authors like, write about what you know, and like I guess that's sort of what I started photographing. But within that space I found, there's a kind of a big gap in it, like in terms of like ski culture really wasn't covered that much. Like there's a lot of, I mean, it is to some degree, but like there wasn't a ton of it. And I felt like there was like kind of a lot of space to kind of photograph kind of more of the sort of everything going on the fringes of the ski world. And that's sort of where I started to I guess get more known. Not that I'm like super well known or anything,
Right.
but
No.
people just started noticing that a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I have it here written here, like you're not a normal ski photographer. Like you're not shooting people hucking off cliffs. You're not even shooting skiing. Is that
Yeah,
yeah.
that's fair to say. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's sort of yeah, that's fair to say. And it's actually interestingly, like one of the first places that I sort of realized that was actually, well, the assignment where you were the writer,
Yeah.
we didn't want to chat too much about how we're, old buddies, but like at the same time, like it was a pretty amazing assignment for skier where, we were sent to Kashmir and photographing. We had 3 athletes with us in a film crew, and like those types of magazines, they need like the action, which I was able to shoot. Like I don't mind it. I can do it. It's not my main thing for sure, but then I remember the lift broke down and we were stuck at the bottom, and I was like, how am I going to spend my time? And I happened to have my medium format camera with me, a film camera, and I just started shooting. Like I just kind of, my eyes just awakened, I guess, maybe going back to like the more of like the kind of like newspaper storytelling thing. Like it kind of just dawned on me. I mean, that skiing can happen on a like 30 to 45 degree slope, or depending on who you are, more
Yeah.
or less, with snow on it. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. But what makes it unique, when like in terms of telling a story, like is the context of the skiing, like what's going on around it, like who else is skiing there. Well, how does skiing look different in a place like Kashmir compared to Canada, compared to like Japan or wherever, anywhere, any number of places. And it was really that trip that kind of made me realize like there's this whole world of skiing that really is largely untold, and it's like mostly people who just enjoy it, just enjoy the it for the, like the love of gliding on snow. And that's sort of that sort of thing that we all share in common. It doesn't matter how good a skier you are or whatever. And I just think there was a lot of those types of pictures. I got we had some great skiers with us, and I got some great literally hucking cliffs and skiing some nice slides. But I think the ones that really resonated from that trip were like the ski culture, like kind of the local skiers. And that's
Right.
sort of how that all came about.
Yeah. That was I mean, those shots from India, I mean, they were certainly what you were known for, in my view, for quite a while there. I feel like
no, totally. Yeah, totally. And like there's some images from that story. I mean, that was like 2007, And like one of them in particular is like definitely my most sold print. Like it's,
Yeah.
and from there it just sort of like it got me thinking like, okay, if this is how it is here, what's it like everywhere else? And around that time, I was still doing quite a few like expeditions, but I just felt like I love them. It's like I love being out there with just a smaller group of people and photographing like, the hardship of moving through the land and everything. And I think there's some interesting stories there to tell, but
Yeah.
I felt like there was I just really just started really getting interested in like seeing what it would be like in everywhere I could go to photograph skiing. And
Right.
like the snow quality and everything, is secondary to what
Right.
like my happy place is some kind of, what would be considered some little piddly ski hill in like Bulgaria or something, like
Yeah.
and it's just because like there's just such interesting endless fodder for great imagery, I feel like, and the type of imagery that I'm really interested in.
Right. I mean, I think I have it like you kind of go where the skiing sucks often.
Yeah, exactly. Like the thing is, like one thing I've found, like don't get me wrong, like there's been places in the world that I've skied and gone skiing, like in Europe and like I mean so many places all over the world, like South America, even Antarctica to Russia. There's always been days where it's just been unbelievable, like it matches. But the one problem, like I think we all have, especially living in Canada in the West, is like we have like the best skiing in the world, and that's what I keep coming back to. Like in terms of
Right.
like skiing, it's just so good.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like, I guess, not really what I'm super interested in terms of my photography.
Hmm.
As a skier, I'm very interested in it. I like this morning, that's what I did. But like as a photographer, I'm really interested in these kind of like smaller ski diasporas where like skiing has sort of taken on its own role just because it's so fun and like people are discovering it. Like I mean, recently did a story in England where um they don't even ski on snow. It's like these dry slopes. And it was just such an interesting little ski culture. And I think, yeah, the pictures really kind of resonated with people because it's like skiing has sort of like evolved independent of snow in this place. And it's just, I don't know, just in terms of like storytelling and photography, it just made for some really interesting images.
Yeah. Those ones look amazing. That looks like some interesting. Did you do some skiing there too?
I did. I like, most of the time I was just walking around. I was like one of the few trips where I didn't have to haul a ski bag. Thankfully,
Yeah.
like I traveled with one tiny little pack and one camera,
Yeah.
which was awesome. And walking around in my shoes. But I got the rentals one day in this like small town in Wales called Llandudno. I know that's not how the Welsh say it. It's like more like Llandudno, but something like that. But it was like this really beautiful scene of just this ski slope made out of plastic and like in this beautiful setting right next to the ocean, and sun's like, it was getting dark quite early at that time of year, and just some really fun people. And I did a couple runs with them, and it was like a 14 or 15-second descent, but it's still skiing for sure.
Skiing is skiing.
Skiing is skiing. Yep.
Do they ever actually get snow there?
They do. I ended up like as often the case is in these type of trips, you get to be kind of buddies with people who are from the region, and they're telling about you. Like they realize you're really interested in kind of what they're doing. And so on Instagram now I see some of the people I met, and it did snow a couple times, but yeah, it's not like very often.
Yeah.
It's very, very infrequent. And there are like in Scotland, there are some ski hills that I have yet to go to. There's like
Okay.
3 or 4, something like that. And I think there's one lift in kind of northern England that does get snow very infrequently. I remember following it, like just I don't do Twitter, but I kept kind of looking at their webcam that just shows the lift like sitting there in grass in the middle of winter, and I think like every now and again it like dumps and then they can ski. But other than that, it's yeah. But yeah, like something like that, I would be like there in a second, like
Right.
if I could. Yeah.
And you're like working on a book with all these images from around the world, these random places.
Yeah, like sort of inadvertently, like it was almost by accident, or you start, like a lot of the trips, they had an assignment base to it, or, like I would have to do like a more traditional ski assignment with athletes or whatever, or travel story. And I'd always tack on a few days to get some of these images. It's sort of a means to get to them, like to get paid still. And so don't get me wrong, like I still shoot like more traditional ski, like you have to shoot the skiing and all
Yeah.
that. But like I would always like I've got like right now, like tomorrow, actually, I leave to go do one in Austria, and it's more of a traditional ski story, like a travel magazine. But I've tacked on a few days to kind of maybe go. I'm trying to find out where it has snow. That's the other thing, is like it's always been a challenge with these hills, tracking down these hills around the world, is that well, first of all, there's so many. Like if you start, like Wikipedia has an amazing list. Like they're
Yeah.
just, you can't even scratch the surface really in a
Yeah.
lifetime almost. But there's like a lot of them are low altitude. Like they basically, winter is super short in the northern hemisphere for a lot of them. And so yeah, like this time of year, like we're into March right now. They start to start shutting down.
Right.
So yeah, it's just I got to find one that's high enough and kind of interesting enough. But yeah, like the project inadvertently became like a book idea when like just starting to look at the body of work, you start doing it after a while, you're like, holy, this is actually starting to get fairly large, like the collection of images from
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And but it is also now, it's like more cherry picking, like what do I need for it, and it's trying to find like the more unique places as possible. There's some pretty key ones that I haven't been to, and like
Yeah.
just politically and with COVID and stuff, like for example, like
Right.
North Korea has been really like basically shut off, and Iran, like politically super challenging to get there right now,
Yeah.
because they've got a lot of quite a robust ski culture.
Huh.
Anyway, there's quite a few, and but anyway, there's also some accessible ones that I'm hoping to get to.
Right.
Yeah.
And like where, I mean, I sort of know some of the places you've skied, like, well, we skied
Mm-hmm.
in Israel and
Mm-hmm.
like where the other places you've skied, or you've got photos that are sort of going towards this book.
Yeah, so basically like everywhere I've skied, like yeah, so a lot of the, like I've been to, India a couple times, actually Israel a couple times. Like that was a really interesting ski culture there.
Yeah.
Um and to like South America, I was there this winter. I've been there in the past few times, and some images I've been to one ski hill in Punta Arenas twice, like now, that both times I haven't caught it when it's been open.
Okay.
Caught
Yeah.
it like the week after, the weekend after it closed, which is
Yeah.
really frustrating. But things like that, like not, I was just down there and I was like, okay, it's one of those add-ons. Like like a lot of places in Europe, like Eastern Europe, Antarctica, like a lot of places in South America. One kind of hole that I have is like in the Asia, like Georgia and stuff, like, but one hole that I have that I got to fill is like some just kind of US. Like I've
Yeah.
got interesting, like central Canada, like prairie. I did a story on prairie skiing, hill skiing,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. But yeah, the US is like, I hope to kind of tackle a bit of that this spring, like going on a ski traverse there. So
Okay.
yeah, I get some of that. But yeah, it's like, and this still has some time. Like I gotta, like a lot of people's like, oh, it's ready now, it's good to go. But there's some key places, like I want it to be like really good, and I want it to be like really, like just the weird factor really high, like, and I mean that
Right.
in a good way.
Yeah.
Like just so each page is like, whoa, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a work in progress for sure, hopefully getting near its end. Yeah.
Really? That soon?
Well, yeah, I mean, I have interest for it. And
Yep.
it's sort of like, you kind of want to get it out there before something similar comes out, or
Right.
and even if not, I mean, it just takes so long. Like I can't see it being that similar to anything else, because I know how much work and how long it takes to do. Like, so the other thing is like, I mean, we could talk a little bit about cameras and stuff, but so I shoot like pretty much this entire project is shot like medium format film. Like, so I shoot like a Hasselblad camera
Yeah.
with 120 film, and the reason for that is part a couple of fold. Is like, one of them is that it's it kind of gives it a nostalgic look. Like, the pictures could be shot anytime, just like the kind of hue of the sort of muted kind of tones of the images. It's like, it just doesn't really look sharp and kind of sparkly like digital.
Right.
So that's one thing I think that kind of has going for it. And it's very like portrait based. Like, there's still scenics, like, but it's just very kind of it has a look to it. It has an aesthetic for sure.
Yeah.
And also I can't remember what the second reason was. Oh yeah, the process like of shooting film. Like, you're basically shooting like 12 images at a time, and it's getting really expensive too. Like, it's pretty much like, now it's up to like $3 an image.
Wow.
So once you get it all developed and bought the film, so you really, when you kind of really think about what you're trying to point your camera at, and I actually love that. Like, I'm maybe a bit of a Luddite, like, even with like technology and phones and Instagram and all these apps and stuff. Like, if I could just go back to, record players and talk on a phone, like you ring like the dial like thing.
Yeah.
I would do that in a second. Like, I just feel like it just I love that process of slowing down and thinking about what you're trying to do. And that's why I just love that. I love that camera so much. Like, it's just
right.
It just feels right.
I've seen you use it. You still have it, so you're looking down instead of at your subject.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's the other thing too, is like, as subjects get people get older, and they've seen, like, now I've got like 20-year-olds like in pictures that's various ski hills, or have never, they have no clue what I'm doing, like,
right,
in terms, they've never heard of film, like they have no idea. And just explaining that, they feel like, that's the other thing, is like, they feel like something more like kind of special is happening.
right.
And they, I don't know how many times they're like, let me see it, and I'm like, well, you can see it in about a month. Like, after I brought the film home and everything. But yeah, I know it's I love that. I love the process of it. And I think, yeah, I'm slow. I move slowly in that regard.
Do you have to send the film away to get processed somewhere, and then?
Yeah, like, oftentimes, like, I live in Nelson, and there's nowhere here to do it. And
Right.
yeah, there's fewer places, but to get a good pro lab, it's like I usually go through Vancouver, and there's a lab there that I use all the time, and just kind of, usually I have a few hours and I bring it right away. But to be honest, like, the hardest and scariest part is actually bringing unprocessed film through like airport security.
Right.
Because that's the other thing, is people don't really understand anymore. Like, I have a mix of like speeds of film, and I trying to get, like, trying to explain, like, some people know, like, it's great in Canada, it's great in the US. They'll hand check anything. But I was recently going through like Munich, and they're like, no, like, absolutely not.
Huh.
And you just kind of hope that it doesn't get wrecked when it goes through. They say it's film safe, but basically anything with like X-ray, like, is shooting photons of light out of photosensitive material, is not good.
Not good.
So
have you lost
I've
anything
never
before?
had it. No, I haven't, but I have had like, well, for example, like right before the pandemic, I had an assignment to go to Afghanistan. Like, it was like, as the pandemic was sort of the first murmurs, like, it was like January 2020. And that trip, I was like, you know what, I can't shoot film on this one, like, even though it would have been unbelievable. But like, I was putting my film, as you can imagine, you land in Kabul, like, even when you land there, you're basically everywhere you go, your stuff is going through like a major high powered X-ray.
Wow.
Like, with guys with machine guns on either side of it, like, so it's like trying to explain, hey, no, can you not, I just want to walk through this. Like, it's not how it works. So
Right.
I would have lost all my film there for sure.
Huh. So
So
you,
I had to shoot it digitally.
okay.
Yeah, which is just like painful because I knew like it would have been so good. And then sometimes on the road, like I find like a guy, a person who does like developing like at a lab, like in Manchester on a recent trip. Like it was like a really good film processor there. And so then you just don't have to worry
Right.
about it. Like it's like, it's done, you know?
Right.
But anyway, that's getting into some minutia of
Yeah.
like the
And then
process.
and then you got to get it scanned.
Yeah, and then usually I do that at home myself. Yeah,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
yeah, I usually just sort of, and that's really like the fun, like Christmas morning, like you just like and then all the trip and the kind of great people you met come flooding back to you
Right.
through the images, and like, oh, I forgot about that one. And that's the other thing I love about the process. It's just that it's usually it's not instant, right? You can't look at it that night. It's like, so just sort of, well, first of all, it frees you up to kind of just enjoy life when it gets dark out. And also, when you get home, like you got all these, like your whole trip to go through in one kind of flood of scanning and looking at the images. And, like there's some that you totally forgot, or there's that one where you're like, oh man, that one's going to be good.
Yeah.
And it turns out sometimes it sucks. And other ones that are, you didn't think were going to be that great or just amazing, or, you know
Right.
what I mean? So
Yep.
it's kind of, I love that. Aspect of it a lot.
I remember the disappointment of a crappy roll of film.
Oh yeah, that you had, or
Yeah. Oh
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
for sure. I remember getting like whole slide sheets back that were all black.
Oh yeah, totally. Or it's even worse when everything's properly exposed and it's just like not quite right, or the focus is off or something, and
Right.
you're like, oh.
Yeah.
But this one's like, this camera is pretty slow, like especially with portraits. So it's easy, it's pretty easy to focus and everything. And
Yeah.
it's pretty rare that I'm shooting action. Like
Right.
I actually, it was pretty funny. Like I actually, I had this assignment recently to go shoot like the Hahnenkamm in Kitzbühel.
Yeah.
And it's basically like the Wimbledon of like skiing for anyone who doesn't know. It's like the biggest ski race in the world. It's been going on for like 84 years or something.
Scariest ski race in the world, isn't it?
Scariest too, yeah. Like just Google Todd Brooker crash if you want to see how scary it is. It's just crazy.
He lives like 1 kilometer from me, man.
No way.
Yeah,
No
he's a real
way.
estate
Hopefully
agent
he
here.
listens to this. No way. Hopefully he listens to this, because like I swear I don't know how old I was, but I watched that crash with my friends like on a VHS tape till we wore it out. Like
Yeah.
ski racing in Fernie, like it's so crazy. Yeah, so I always knew about it, and basically like, yeah, I just wanted to go cover the race, and it was really interesting getting accreditation, and like they don't really trust you getting too close to the course if they don't know you that well. But anyways, I had these big plans to shoot it fully film, but
Yeah.
luckily I brought the digital just in case, and it became pretty clear like, oh my god, this is too much at stake for this assignment to just shoot film, because like it was like basically they're flying by at 130k an hour, and
Yeah.
I did have to get some action, and I was just like, I just didn't trust like that I was getting it properly, because I,
Yeah.
getting close enough anyway. So it was like a nice mix. Sometimes that happens. Like there's a nice mix, but for this book project, it's definitely predominantly, or except for when circumstances with like, you're going to get your film x-rayed a lot.
Right.
It's almost like 95% film. Yeah.
How was skiing in Afghanistan?
Oh, that was crazy. Yeah, it's probably one of the most in some ways like you like anxiety provoking beforehand, but sort of also one of the most gratifying assignments I've ever had. Like it was just basically a story about this race that had been happening there. This a Swiss fellow and an Italian fellow were kind of, I think they're doing some volunteer or some aid work in this region of Afghanistan called Bamiyan that had, some of you may remember, I think it was like 2004 when the Taliban took over the region. The giant Buddhas were blown up.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And this was the reason. And so quite a nice mountainous zone with like a kind of an ethnic minority of people called I believe the Hazara. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but they're a minority who were heavily persecuted, and they had to leave the region. But then when the Taliban were kind of extricated from the region, they came back. It was their homeland, and they a lot of the people there will kind of work very like rural, sort of like a lot of farming, like in the mountains, like shepherds and things like that. And there's a lot of downtime in the winter. They noticed like these guys who are working there who are skiers, and they're like, yeah, it's getting snow, it gets decent amount of snow. It's like, hey, why don't we start ski touring? And some of the local kids like kind of saw them ski touring and like got into it. And so when these guys came back the following year, they brought some skis, and it kind of grew from there to the point where they started this ski race called the Afghan Ski Challenge. And when I went there in January 2020, it was the 10-year anniversary of the race. Like, so they had two races. One was sort of like a randonnée race, where the kind of more experienced skiers, like they're like really fast. Like, you can imagine like how their fitness levels were really, really high from just their, like living and working in the mountains like all summer and into the fall. And then training as well in the winter. And they really took to skiing. Like these two guys introduced the sport to the people there. And then there was another race with like the younger kids. And these guys are super cool because guys and women actually. So there were some, very few, but some women were kind of doing racing as well. But the younger kids built these like wooden skis that had like these really bright yellow kind of vegetable oil containers that they like glued to the bottom. That was their base.
Wow.
And just like it was like a kind of everyone mass start downhill to the first person to the finish wins. And it was just crazy. Such an interesting race, like safety borderline, like definitely. And but yeah, that was basically like we were there for about 5 days or so, just covering like the build up to the race and like the Bamiyan ski club that had started, and covering the guy who was there as well, who started, the Swiss fellow who kind of started the race. So yeah, it was wow. Very, very cool. We got a lot of ski touring ourselves, and kind of, we drop down up one ridge down to another and find, these young kids skiing. Like it was all because of this little seed of an idea that these sort of foreigners to the region introduced it, and it's now taken off to like a legit, like real sport there. Yeah,
that sounds amazing.
Really, really cool. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you're traveling tons. How many days a year are you on the road, man?
Oh, yeah, that's really hard. Like, obviously, super variable. It's like with COVID, and that obviously really slowed things down. Like, right before COVID, that was probably like the peak where it was like literally like, and one trip after another, it felt like, and it was which was great. It was actually, to be honest, but also getting like slightly fatiguing, like the kind of allure of I had this weird, like, I used to really like airports a lot, but now like it's definitely not. I know people will find that strange, but just like the whole, because it just means that you're like going somewhere, like the excitement of going somewhere,
right?
But now like that sort of worn off. Well, it's taken a long time to wear off, but and also I had a child. We had a little baby over the COVID time, and so that is really sort of made me more strategic in when and where I can go. Like we've sort of discovered, like I have gone to some pretty interesting places over COVID, and with like, Remy being 4 months old, and obviously being the father, my job is slightly less, I think. Well, I think this is debatable. Well, it's not actually not debatable. Like quite a bit less important than his mom at this point. But it's still hard, still like I miss the guy. And so like we found like 10 days is sort of 10 days, 2 weeks is sort of pushing it.
Yeah.
So that makes things a little more limiting, especially when you're trying to like tack, if you have an assignment, you're trying to tack on like a few, days to go work on a personal project, which I feel is like for me really important. Like
Yeah.
the added like the personal work, like the stuff that really gets me excited is super important. And it almost seems to always find a place and like it leads to other things. So yeah, we're just trying to navigate that a bit more, like, whether I can bring them along more or still that's a work in progress. And obviously being a father is sort of the number one priority to do that, right? And like but also you got to make a living. And
Right.
so yeah, still figuring that out. But yeah, and it's starting to come back a bit more, but there's a bit more complication and things to navigate now. But yeah, I still get out there a lot.
Yeah. Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had the question, do you have like a favorite trip you've been on, or
Oh yeah,
you've done so many adventures, man.
yeah, that's a tough one. Like it's really hard to narrow down a favorite. Like there's been there's so many that have been fun. Like that would be really hard to narrow down. Like if I
Yeah.
was to pick one recently though,
Yeah.
actually to be honest, like I think I mentioned that the English ski hills, like in the UK, the dry slopes, like that was like only a 4-day trip that I had. I only had 4 days
Wow.
at the end of another trip. And I had to be I actually had that very well organized. There was a lot of logistics beforehand because I photographed like the British school championships. And it was for like a British like magazine, sort of like they have the national magazine called the Telegraph there, and like they have like a weekend magazine. So they're really picky about like model releases and stuff there. So I actually had to get like there's 170 kids. I had to get every kid's model release before I even went. So like there's people helping me with that. It was
Wow.
logistic. Like that's the thing about photography people don't realize too. Like there's a lot of, so like it's not just pressing the button, like the amount of like prep and organization to get like set yourself up so you can get the best images is it takes a lot of work, like administrative work. But
Right.
anyway, that particular trip was so fun because it was sort of an idea that just started from like basically nothing, and it led to something really cool. And it was also the first time I'd actually, other than like the Heathrow airport, or I think like a couple hour layover in London that I had once, that I'd actually explored, the kind of middle part or anywhere in the UK.
Okay.
Like that was really fun. Like just to be able to wander around and like communicate with like the same language. And
Right. Right.
it just felt really just relaxing and like just felt like really interesting and fun, engaging. In terms of like adventure, that's really tricky. Like one trip actually though in May, it was like a mountain bike trip. I shoot quite a bit of mountain bike stuff as well in the summer. And this was a trip to kind of try to find if there was any kind of single track culture in Jordan, in the Middle East. And basically there's like this Jordan hiking trail, and then there's a Jordan cycling trail, which is kind of more gravel and road. But we were seeing if we could like mountain bike chunks of the Jordan hiking trail, and
Yeah.
trying to explain that to like a tourism agency was just like unbelievable. And then you think like I would literally like Google image pictures of the Jordan hiking trail, and I'm like, I want more of this, please. And like, and then you would, and not this, and like show a road, but then they'd suddenly just keep veering it towards the road.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like it's just people don't have a sense of like, because it's so new there. So then we found this there's this company called Cycling Jordan that this guy Sari Hussein, who runs trips there. He's just one of the coolest guys like we've ever met. Like both the writer and I, and because of him and his crew, it was just like this such a special trip. Like we ended up we're riding on some amazing single track, and he kind of started understanding what we were after, like really quickly, and being such a sport. Like he was the second rider in like in the pictures, like he's not a single track rider, but he figured it out, and he was
Oh,
able
wow.
to do it. It's just amazing. Like and we were going along, and we come across these like Bedouin guys who were like basically making a chicken dinner on the side of the trail, like in the middle of nowhere, and they asked us to join them, and we hung out there for a couple hours. And in my head, I'm like, oh, this is awesome, not only because this is awesome, but
Yeah.
because like there's going to be a sunset soon. Like it's going to be like we're going to be coming in like through these wicked, we had 10K to ride still, and
Yeah.
be riding through, and it'd be some good images. But like that was a really special trip, just because of the people. And that's what makes all the trips special. It's like kind of this connection to people that photography gives you. And yeah, I should have thought about that question a bit more, but like
Oh,
it's hard to narrow down.
yeah. No, it's kind of a dumb
Yeah.
question, really.
No, but yeah, it's like,
It's one
yeah,
everyone
there's so
always
many.
asks.
Yeah.
Do you have a worst trip?
Worst trip. I feel like it'd be hard. I always try to find the positive in things, even though my partner might say otherwise. But like I would say, like with things like as a photographer, it's one thing people don't realize about it. Like being consistent is so important. Like when you're getting an assignment, the editor is really putting a lot of trust in you, and that's sort of what it comes down to. They're trusting you to bring back something. So every trip, it doesn't matter which one it is, like has obstacles that you have to overcome, or any shoot does. And if you can do that in the most positive way. But there are times where you're just like, holy, the world is throwing a lot at me to not make this work out, because the second you're sitting on the plane at the end of the trip, it's over. Like you can't like phone someone up and ask them another question. It's like,
Right.
it's done. So it's done. So I've had a lot of trips where like the snow is not great, or like various other obstacles, or like it was sort of misunderstood about what it is we needed to get the story done. And you just have to figure out a way to work through that. And those are the ones where you're challenging, and you're like, holy, but at the end, it has to work out, and you have to figure out a way to make it work out. So yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Like our ski trip to Greenland, where we just ended up whale watching for 7 days.
Yeah, like exactly. See, it still ended up as a story somewhere, right? And yeah, that was painful. Like stuff like that.
Painful.
That was tough. But I was thinking of another one. Like I did an expedition quite a while ago across, like we're trying to be the first ones to ski the Cordillera Darwin in Tierra del Fuego, just south of Punta Arenas. There's this kind of like little island that sticks out, the very southern part of South America, and there's this ice field that it's like 110K. We were trying to ski from this one mountain in Chile all the way across the ice to Ushuaia and in Argentina. And as soon as we landed by boat, it turned into this, like, it basically started raining and then snowing, like in a crazy storm, which we found out later was like the most snow that region had gotten since like 1980 or something. Like it broke new records.
Yeah.
And so basically it was like we had 30 days of food on this trip, like completely remote, like there's absolutely nowhere to get help. Like you get Zodiac'd in and dropped off like in a 4-hour Zodiac ride. And so we just have ourselves and the food, but literally we're in the tent for like 18 of it ended up being 35 days. And we show up we decide like halfway through, we're like, we can't even move. Like, it's just so like sketchy to move in the whiteout. We had one huge crevasse fall where the guy fell in this crevasse. And like, okay, we're running out of food. We got to bail. Like there's no other option. And we went down this super sketchy, slotted glacier to finally land. And we found out, we knew beforehand that there was this elephant seal colony where once a week this expedition or this like cruise ship stops at to show the guests. So we show up there and we just wait, and like 3 or 4 days later, sure enough, this cruise ship shows up. And basically they, we were asking, hey, can we get your ride back to, civilization with you? And the captain, thought about it for like an hour, and they decided to, and then he said no, and like, gave us a whole bunch of like white chocolate, like just like piles of it, so we wouldn't starve, and then just left. And we're just like, what? So like, we're just these dirt bags with no money. We're like, how are we gonna get out of here now? So we had to phone the guy who dropped us off on the other end, and the price like quadrupled. Wow. And so he picked us up. It was like a 4 or 5, like I think it was like 6-hour Zodiac ride, and he took us around to each bank machine as we drained our accounts, like in Punta Arenas. It was over. So that trip was like you're like, is this a good trip, or is this fun? But it still was like, it was unreal, just kind of character building.
Makes for a good story now.
Makes for good stories, afterwards. And you know what? Oh yeah, and this is funny. Like I was doing a shoot down south this September, and in South America, and I had to go to this conference, and I was having a dinner at this conference right across. I looked at, like, they have the name on their, like, we all had our names on our like shirt, like on the thing, on a tag, and it was like the marketing person for this cruise ship line that turned us away. Yeah. And I was like, do you remember like 15 years ago, like some guys who tried to get on your ship at the Elephants Field colony? She's like, yes, I vaguely remember that. And I'm like, that was me. And she's like, oh, we're so sorry we did that. And I'm like, well, we can laugh about it now.
Right.
It's pretty funny though. It's like, of all people, like this to be sitting across from. It's pretty funny.
That's funny. And then you did you fat biked across Greenland, right? Is that true?
No, it wasn't Green. Yeah, it was Baffin Island.
Baffin Island, right?
That was a really, that, like, those are the ones that are, that was so fun. Like where it's not always fun. Like it was a story for Bike magazine, like 4 or 5 years ago, and it was basically this kind of common hike in Baffin Island called Ayuktuk National Park, and I know I'm messing up how to pronounce that, but basically it's a point to point, and you get sort of dropped off. It's basically between Kikatarjuak and Pangnirtung, and kind of 120K or something like that. And we started moving north to south, and you go over kind of one pass. It's just like
you were doing it in the winter, weren't you?
Yeah, it's winter time. Yeah,
usually the hike is in the summer. Is that true?
It's exactly. So the hike's in the summer, and it's like the rivers you have to worry about. Yeah. And in the winter it was just pure ice and snow. And I got this call or email from one of the park wardens in the north, like a day before we were leaving. And he's like, I wouldn't actually, if you can not come, it'd probably be not a bad idea. And I'm like, we're going, like, we're going to the airport now, kind of thing. And because it snowed a ton, and basically for the first like few days we were pushing our bikes as hard as we could for like 10K a day. Like it was just hell. Like the bikes were useless for the first couple days, and then suddenly like the wind just blew off the snow, and it turned out to be such a fun trip. But that one had its ups and downs as well, but mostly ups for sure. Yeah,
amazing. And then I remember you talking about a trip you guys did with on Canadian Tire ski equipment, didn't you?
Oh man, so this is funny. Like, like I mean, like I'm still, it's my whole, I never think, I always want more out of my career. Like I'm always trying to push to try to get in new magazines and like get better and stuff. So, I've attained some of the goals that I've set out as a young photographer, to get and achieve some of them. And I'm still have a lot more to achieve that I hope to. But the one thing that is always brought up is always the Canadian Tire trip. It's a video, and it was a video done like 10 or so years ago. And even I was just on a trip like 2 days ago where the guys, are you the guy from the Canadian Tire? So it was basically a trip where it was a kind of a satire where it was for a ski magazine where we were wanting to do like kind of like an iconic Canadian ski traverse using only Canadian Tire gear. And my friend Steve and Nelson and I set off on it with like, and the funny thing is that I wasn't there for when they got all the stuff at Canadian Tire. Like Canadian Tire sponsored it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't there, so I got all the worst stuff. Like I got these skis that were like literally a foot and a half long, like made for a baby, and like anyway, it's just, if you want to see it, it's called True North, and you just have to Google it. It's sort of gotten a niche, sort of a what do you call that? Like a
Cult following.
Yeah, cult following for it in the kind of ski community in the West here. I don't know if it's like, do you guys see it in Ontario?
I haven't thought about that
years?
story in years and years, but I knew I was talking to you and I remembered it, and I always thought it was so funny. I think you guys had like yellow nylon rope with you and stuff.
Yeah, like yellow nylon rope, and like we're towing a sled that had like one 24 pack of beer, and that was it. That was our supplies. And the funny part is like, what makes it funny is like we said we were from like a prairie town, and this was our first big ski expedition, and we had like a Husky map, like from a Husky diner, how you're at the place, and that was our map that said. But anyway, you have to watch the video to kind of get a chuckle out of it. But it's awesome. Yeah, it's very, but it's funny. I always find it funny. I'm like, I feel like I've accomplished like some things in photography, and like the one thing that always gets brought up is the Canadian Tire. It's sort of funny.
Well, I did remember too. You won the Whistler Photographer Showdown years ago.
Yeah. That's it's cool that you bring that up, just because that was sort of like the transition from newspapers to like shooting for magazines, I think. And it kind of happened at a serendipitous time where like newspapers were starting to slow down a lot. And then it kind of made me realize, okay, like my work sort of resonates with people to some degree. And, I can just give this a shot. It sort of made me go off on my own a bit more.
Yeah, cool. I mean, you say newspapers are going down. Do you have any concern that like most of your clients are print magazines these days?
Yeah, that's true. Like so many, like over the pandemic have gone down. Like, I mean, like Powder has a really painful one. Like it's just had some very, very interesting and trips. I've been so grateful to work with them. And, it took me a long time to get in with Powder. Dave Reddick, like he just did so much work. Like he's a legend in the world of ski journalism, essentially. And to kind of be, getting the odd call from him to go do some really cool trips is just, super sad to see them go. And there's so many, but at the same time, it's like it's part of the process with photography is to figure out how to adapt and like see where imagery and different imagery can belong. So I'm lucky enough that I do some commercial work that I don't often show the light of day about it, but that I'm still proud of. But it's like it's like it sort of keeps me afloat, and allows me to still do like the trips that I really am passionate about. So that's important. Yeah.
So you can start, one thing you could start on a TikTok account, start doing TikTok.
Oh, what is that? Just kidding. I know, like I think I know I like I have such a, especially, I think we talked about this already with like the Luddite in me wishes that a lot of that type of thing I find really not really super helpful for what I want to accomplish. Like I find it quite, I often think of like, you're listening to some great music from, I don't know what, like some amazing song from like the 70s or 60s. And you think, what, those guys weren't sitting around wasting their time, like scrolling up, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like there's so much human potential being lost right now, and like in that world. And I really struggle with it, because I know that it's an important part of sort of an important part of like marketing and what I need to kind of get out there and my, I guess, sort of quote unquote image as a photographer, my style. So
Yeah.
I realize there's part of me that's like kind of knows that intellectually, but at the same time, deep down, I realize I feel like it's just like, you know what, like it's not helping me do like what's important. And part of me just like wants to walk away from it and just like focus on, you know, really producing good stuff without any distraction and like just get it to the people who matter. And if it ends up on there, great, but or not, you know, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to kind of cut the ties because part of me's like, like, yeah, I get more and more, you know, messages from there and more people out of the blue contact me from there. So yeah, it's a tricky one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still trying to figure it out.
Yeah. We
And
all
by the
are.
time I do, yeah, we all are. And by the time I do, there'll be the next thing. So,
Totally.
yeah.
Cool. Do you have
Yeah.
any advice for people wanting to follow a career like yours? Get into photography and adventure photography and
Well, yeah, I guess so. I mean, I'd probably say to them like, just follow like what you're interested in, what you're passionate about, and don't it's not a race. Like I think I mean, at least for me, it's a slow process and it's an ongoing process. Like it's not like it's a finite thing. Like you kind of always have to be pushing and always have to be thinking and of new ways of finding interesting stories. And I think that's the most important thing I could say. But yeah, it's very gratifying at the same time. Yeah.
Cool. And where can people see your work after hearing all your stories?
Yeah, like I have a site that's probably the easiest place, just karimedicphoto.com. And or I mean, yeah, Instagram if you want to check that out. I post. I think mostly my mom and her friends follow me, but you know, that's a good following. Hey,
Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta keep your mom happy. And yeah, anyway, those types of places. And you know, I work a lot for like magazines like Outside and you know, well, En Route when it exists. And that's another one that may or may not come back. Different travel magazines. And anyway, there's quite a few. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Man, I think that's about it. Thanks for your time, Kari.
Cool. Thank you, Colin. Yeah, it's super fun to chat. And I hope people enjoyed it.
That's it for now. I'd like to thank Kari Medig for taking the time and sharing some of his adventures from the road. I think we just barely scratched the surface. Head on over to karimedigphoto.com if you want to see some of his incredible imagery. That's KARIMEDIG photo.com. Thanks to Shirai Rules for the voiceovers in the intro, and to Adrian Gendro for the guitar licks. And thanks to you all for listening. Don't forget to check out the print editions of Mountain Life magazine. You can get a subscription. Remember those? Over at mountainlifemedia.ca. Spring is upon us, people. Bike season is just around the corner. Time to bleed those brakes, lube up your chain, and hit whatever kind of trail, gravel, ramp, jump, or road you're excited about. 2 wheels, 1 love. Peace.